Hello, everyone. Welcome to Women's Entrepreneurship Week at Minnesota State University, Mankato. I'm Cari Joe, a junior pursuing a marketing degree with a minor in entrepreneurship. And today I am so honored to interview Mary Kay Hauer, founding partner of Certeza Consulting Group. With over 3 decades of experience, MK has worked on over 200 initiatives and helped numerous organizations boost their productivity and revenue. As the co-founder of Certeza Consulting Group, she continues to empower growth and drive positive change in organizations. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's great to be here. So happy to be part of this.
Yes, thank you. Well, I saw on LinkedIn that your father was an entrepreneur, and I was wondering if you knew from early on that you would want to be one as well one day.
I, I did. In fact, when I started out in college, I wanted to take over his business. But the more I learned about what I really wanted to be when I grew up, I decided that I wanted to pursue my own business and start out with a career in the corporate world. And then that would help prepare me to start my own business of what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So when it came to switching from having like a top performance in sales and kind of switching over to owning your own business, how was that change for you? How did you handle that?
I think the one thing that I found working in corporate America, and I worked for some very amazing companies, was that there were always limitations. There was a lot of collaboration, but there were always limitations where you could only go so far. And I was very lucky to have met a mentor while I was in the corporate world who introduced me to what things could be, what the possibilities were if I wanted to start my own business.
Wow. I mean, I think mentors are just so important in career along with networking, but mentors just have that personal connection to really drive things forward. So
Yes.
when it comes to mentorship and you, what do you believe is the most important thing established entrepreneurs can do to support this next upcoming generation of entrepreneurs?
I think it's just sharing the wisdom and sharing the path. Um, and I think what I learned is that you get to chart your own way and you can learn from the experience of others, things that worked, things that didn't work. And I think just that knowledge and that experience, I mean, I had a lot of crashes to get to where I am today. And I think those crashes were my greatest learning experiences.
Would you be able to give us an example of one of those that you were able to learn from?
I'm glad you asked. I may have one. So, when I decided to leave corporate America and a paycheck every 2 weeks, I said, well, how hard can this be? This will be really fun. And the first day I was officially my own business entrepreneur, business owner, I started to realize the gravity of what I had just done. In 2 weeks, I wasn't going to get a paycheck. And I had a mortgage. I had a young baby. And I thought, uh-oh, what am I going to do? And I panicked. And so I called my mentor and I said, you know what? I think I've made a mistake. I don't think I'm really ready for this. I'm going to go back to my employer who said I could come back if I wanted to. And I said, I'm not ready to go there. And what my career was and what I wanted to do is I wanted to share with people the selling process and the success that I had to help other sellers and business owners be successful. And he said, here's what I'm going to tell you is he said, why don't you practice what you teach? And 6 hours a day, I was on the phone, excuse me, calling people, trying to tell them what I wanted to do and how I thought I could help them in my business. And it was a very big lesson that if you're committed and you want to do it, you'll figure it out. And I had that passion and I had that fear of not getting a paycheck. And I think that's what motivated me to do what I did. That was a real
Mm.
learning lesson.
Wow. But what important things to learn too through that entire experience. So, kind of touching on Certeza Consulting Group as well, I was wondering if you can kind of give us a rundown of what a day-to-day practicing business looks like in your world.
So, what we do is we really work with sales companies or with companies to fine tune their sales skills. And we've worked, I come out of a high tech, I come out of a big professional services corporate background. And really, what I found out is that when you're selling, it doesn't matter who you're selling to, it matters how they're buying and really understand the buying process. And I think for me, being able to teach that and share that and coach people to be successful. And I think one of the greatest challenges I love is a lot of times in my workshops, I get people that have a lot more experience than I do. And especially back when I was starting, and they come in with their arms crossed saying, I don't think I'm going to learn anything. I don't think this is going to be fun. If I can get them to uncross their arms over the time that we have together, that's a big success for me. Or a big opportunity where somebody's working on and we help coach them and they're successful at it. Their success is what makes us successful.
I love that. And hearing that too, I think is so important in the business world. Especially, I always hear everyone's connected. So if you just continue to help out, you build that and you never know what can come from that as well. Well, it sounds like a really amazing thing that you do just day to day and get to help with as well. Looking back on your career of doing things, do you have one accomplishment that you see as one of your greatest achievements or anything in your professional career that you would really want to highlight?
That's a great question. Let me think about that. I think it's the stability that I lasted through all the unpredictable things that happened with the economy, happened in the world, that it taught me the passion to be successful, to come to work every day with a positive attitude and look for people that I could really help change. And the beauty of when we built Certeza, which is a company that's now 4 years old, that came out of my old consulting group, is that 90% of our customers are repeat customers. And we deal typically with senior leadership. And when they move around to a new company, we're one of the first calls that they make. And that's a huge accomplishment for us that while we still prospect and find new customers, we have that trust and that loyalty with an existing customer base that some of my clients go back to 20 years. And I've been with them in multiple new positions.
Wow. I mean, I would consider that a really big compliment to be able to hold that and just retain repeat customers, I think is some of the most important things in working B2B, especially.
Mhm.
Um, with working in this like whole career in B2B as well, when it comes to retaining those customers, what do you think is a really important thing that people my age can take away from retaining these relationships that maybe we haven't even had the experience of starting yet?
Mhm. I think for me, the biggest aha moment when I thought about starting my business and really when I was learning how to be a good salesperson is that it's really not about me. It's not about the product I sell. It's about what the challenges are that that customer is dealing with. And it's more of that consultative approach. And we follow a belief by W. Edwards Deming, who was around a long time ago. And he said that there's a certain way that people reach out and buy. And if you can understand that and meet them where they are and help coach them or help guide them or give them ideas on how they can make decisions that make them successful and make their business successful, that's probably a major accomplishment because it's not about me and what I sell. It's about how I can help them and meet them where they are in their issue and their challenges. And I've just always followed that principle. Instead of walking in and somebody says, okay, what are you selling me? It's like, okay, tell me a little bit about you. Tell me about your business. Tell me about what's important to you and how I can help you.
Wow, I think that's a great piece of advice. I mean, just like going forward, just keeping that in the back of your head, I think could be really helpful in this too.
Mhm.
I've learned a lot throughout this interview so far, and I just really appreciate that. Is there any last piece of advice that you would want to give anyone watching this, either throughout Women's Entrepreneurship Week or just students who are interested in starting their own business in general?
I, I'll tell you one thing that really helped me be more successful was a failure. And it was a very early on failure in my career. I said a few minutes ago that I was spending 6 hours a day calling customers, trying to build my customer base.
Hmm.
And I was calling on a CEO of a software company here in Orange County, California. And I thought I was ready. I thought I could do this. And then, maybe I can wing it. We'll see. And I called that CEO and I used my introductory line and asked him, tell me a little bit about your business. Tell me some things. And he paused for a minute and he said, what'd you say your name was? And I said, my name is Mary Kay Hauer. And he said, what company did you say you were with? And I gave him the name of my company. And he goes, yeah, I'm interested. He said, I'd love to have a conversation with you. And Carrie Joe, this is what I did. I hung up the phone on him. And when I thought about that, I didn't know what to say. I was never prepared that somebody would say yes and somebody would want to buy. I was thinking about, oh, the old dialing for dollars. That's what you learn. And that failure was probably my biggest learning lesson in starting this business that I learned that you have to be prepared. You have to do your homework. You have to study and you have to bring something to the table that the customer sees value in it. Wasn't prepared for that in the least. That was huge. I've never, ever forgotten that. And I do share that in my classes and tell people that the hardest thing is going to be that next phone call you make, but that's what's going to drive you to success because you got past it and you learn from it.
Wow. I mean, just hearing that and like hanging up the phone too. But I mean, you're so right. Just being unprepared to hear a certain answer, it's like you have all these responses in the back, especially with my interest in sales too. Yeah, I mean, how do you even handle a situation like that? But what a good learning experience to continue on in your classes and coursework. Just, I think everyone can relate to those things that they look back on and just,
Yeah.
oh,
And you have to push through. You have to. I was ready to just crawl in a hole and pushing through. And I think that taught me a very valuable lesson that I've never ever forgotten it. Never ever.
wow. I mean, that's a good lesson for anyone to learn too. Oh, thank you so much for that piece of advice. I really appreciate that. I know I'm going to remember it as well.
You're welcome. So,
Yeah, I appreciate you being here today. I think we learned so much through you. I just appreciate someone with so much experience and someone who's had just a really successful company coming on to speak with everyone today. So thank you.
my pleasure. I'm happy to do it. I fun times when I was a student back at Mankato State.
It is pretty fun right now too.
Mhm.